that was probably their most sales that they've ever gotten.
And like our last episode, better with guns.
Better
So Mario is better with guns.
better with
I mean,
guns.
they gave Ryu a gun in Fortnite, and that turned out okay.
Look, man, these video game characters, they are strong advocates for the Second Amendment.
Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel podcast about games, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. With me today, my good buddy Nick. Nick, how you doing?
Doing good, doing good. I am wearing my Bucky's t-shirt that is United States themed because we are very close to America's birthday. This is as close as we're going to get before America's birthday in a couple days. So I wanted to go ahead and begin the festivities early. How are you, Joe?
Well, I'm doing all right. I'm glad that you're here, and unlike last year, you're not in trouble with the law for lighting M80s in the gas station parking lot. I mean, I understand it's a lot of
Allegedly.
fun, but
Allegedly.
I mean, Texas does what it wants, right? So I figured it's okay.
Actually, I mean, as far as fireworks are concerned, so Texas is very dry a lot of the time. We have gotten some pretty good amount of rain recently, which is always great. But Texas is still pretty dry, so I'm pretty sure there's always a firework ban pretty much everywhere. At least that's what I've heard, but I've seen several fireworks stores, so I don't really know how that works. But
It's
anyway,
probably like Arkansas, where it's like you can buy the alcohol, you just can't, drink it elsewhere or bring it across the lines.
yeah, Texas is version of a dry county is probably is like the fireworks. Arkansas's alcohol is Texas's fireworks is what I'm trying to say. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I that's what I heard. I haven't really bought fireworks here. There's always a bunch of fireworks shows, but they're professionally done and they're in big urban areas with lots of uh, uh, fire rescue stuff like that. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't even know. I don't even have any plans for 4th of July. Last year I did something downtown and I took a wrong turn going home because I went directly toward my home and I got stuck in like an hour and a half worth of traffic. It was a nightmare. So I'm kind of a
I was
bit.
half expecting to be like, I took a wrong turn and wound up in Houston or something like that.
Yeah, that would be the worst of all things. Not because it would take that long to get to Houston, but because it's Houston.
Yeah, I no, it's all Dallas to me. It doesn't matter. Um,
What
never, I've
what
other than driving through, I've actually never enjoyed Texas. As
like
in, I've never stopped to enjoy it.
so?
It's always just a state I've had to drive through.
Let me just explain Texas to you really quickly. So
We really have to.
yes, we really have to because I have a question for you at the end. So there's basically three major cities and Austin, at least in the like I-35 Texas line. So there's Dallas, and then Austin, and then San Antonio, and then we have to veer off. But then you go to like Houston. I guess you can kind of count Corpus Christi in that, but nobody really does. So like people from Houston like Houston, but nobody else likes Houston. Um, so I was wondering, what is Illinois' Houston? Is it Chicago?
Chicago's just Chicago. There's nothing else other than everything's a suburb of Chicago.
In
So,
the whole
I
state?
mean,
I guess the state's
it's
not as big as Texas, but I don't know. I would have thought there'd be something.
uh, it was pretty funny during the last election. Someone had a really good meme of the entire state being because the entire state pretty much votes red, and then
Yeah.
Cook County votes blue, and it just showed a train plowing through a school bus, and the school bus being the state of Illinois, and then Cook County being the train. Because yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. Um,
That's pretty good.
whatever Cook County wants is like it changes whatever the state is. But yeah, it's
So many
I don't
people.
know. I'm not originally from here, so it's just I don't know, Chicago. It's good enough where you go, but you just be smart about it. Everyone's like, oh yeah, everyone's afraid about getting shot. I'm like, dude, just go where the tourists go. Don't start adventuring on your own if you don't know the area, and yeah, you should be fine. But I'm in the burbs anyway, so don't effing matter.
Okay. Anyway, I was just wondering. I guess it doesn't really equate, but yeah. Anyway, so how you doing, man?
Uh, could be doing better if it wasn't for the fires in Canada completely polluting our airs here. I mean, it's just like reminds me of early LA in the 90s because it's like really hazy as crap outside. Like kids can't play outside and like it's you gotta stay in, guys, because it's literally hazardous to breathe in over long periods of time if you're running around. Luckily my kids don't have any lung problems, but I have some friends who their kids are a little more sensitive, and yeah, it's not really good. So hopefully we all get some rain. Some areas are starting to get to it, and for the last couple of days it was just those numbers have been climbing for how poor the air conditions are, but it's finally starting to drop down a little bit. So hopefully by the weekend, it'll be in acceptable ranges because that way people can enjoy the festivities over this weekend. Uh,
Yeah, man, I've been
and
hearing
that should
about
be
that.
fun. I mean, because like a lot of people like to do camping. They're setting up carnivals all around and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that a lot of people get to go out and have some fun. And I'm hoping the fires in Canada get managed soon because I mean, it was Australia a couple of years ago, California all year round, and then you got Canada's all over, man. So hopefully
Yeah,
they're all
Canada's
right.
a new one, at least to me. My dad and stepmom are going up north to Michigan, and they're kind of leery of what's going on as far as like the fires and stuff are concerned. So yeah, I mean it's not really gonna affect them as far as the fire goes, but the smoke is an issue. Yeah, I feel for you guys, man. It's rough up there right now.
Yeah, I made a joke to a couple buddies who are avid smokers, and I'm like, just rip off the filters and then just breathe through the filter, and then you can pretty much get the same effect of smoking, right?
Cleans up the
It's
air a
cheaper in
little
the
bit.
long run. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Just not as much nicotine in those Canadian trees.
yeah. So no, like I said, outside of that, things are building up for the weekend. So my community does a good Fourth of July show, and the fireworks are just beyond like the tree line to behind my house, so I can just sit on my driveway and just watch them. And yeah, that should be that's usually our routine. We invite some friends over and just enjoy the show from there. Uh, don't have to deal with the crowd. Don't have to put up picnic blankets or anything like that. Stake our plot beforehand. We're good. We're in walking distance to a carnival and grab the food, do a couple rides, come back and just chill.
That's
So
cool,
yeah.
man. That's great.
All right. Well, let's see. Since the last time we talked, we missed the Nintendo Direct that came out, and so that's going to be a majority of our news here. And yeah, you pretty much put down a lot of the major, well, looks like everything, but we're just going to briefly go over the some of the stuff that we don't find as exciting and talk a little bit more about what you do. So, all right, you lead us off.
Yeah. So first up, I guess my thing would be, or my idea would be to kind of go ahead and mention everything, but really just stick to the high notes as far as what we actually go in depth on. First thing that came up was Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Area Zero, some paid DLC. So yeah, if you're into Pokemon, I guess that's for you. But the next thing that came up was Sonic Superstars, which is a 2.5D Sonic game. Um, Looks pretty good. What was it? Sonic. What was that remake that came out a couple years ago?
Sonic Mania.
Sonic Mania. Yeah. So this looks kind of like that, but maybe a little bit better, I guess, in some ways.
I'm curious how they're doing the multiplayer on this one because anyone who's played the original Sonic games where you play as Tails, you always like the moment Sonic gets off screen, you get left in the dust, and so unless if they do somehow
Oh
split
yeah,
screen it, like if you separate, I'm not really sure how they're going to keep everyone together, unless if they're because if you're doing couch co-op, it's going to be a disaster. The moment someone misses a bumper or something or doesn't hit their jump right. So I'm just curious how they're going to do it. Are they going to make you automatically like teleport to the front, or are they going to, uh, like if everyone has their own console, then yeah, everyone can go at their own pace and have their own screen. But split screening it might be a way to do it for two people. But if you're going to
that's the
split screen
only
it
way to
amongst four,
me.
that's yeah,
I mean, that's the only way to me. Like, you have to split screen it. There's just because it's like because I remember what you're talking about from the old games, and it's like, why am I even here? You know, like, why did I like? There really wasn't a good multiplayer kind of system with that part. I
yeah.
do remember
So
some things
if you do like a
were
divinity thing,
split
like
screen.
yeah, so all I can think of is if they do something like the Divinity games, where it's when you're together, it's one giant screen, and the moment you split far enough apart, then it divides the screen. That would make sense. We have the technology; it should be capable, but at the same time, with the game this fast, I don't know how jarring that would be. It's like how far away do you have to be before you split it? And then like the moment you get it together, all of a sudden you're like splitting, rejoining. It's gonna mess everyone up. So it's kind
Yeah,
of it's
I'm
a
not
weird one.
I'm not sure how they're how they're gonna figure it out, but it looks like a legit Sonic game, old school, but souped up to new graphics and stuff. So I was like, okay, it looks kind of cool. So I don't probably won't play it, but it was interesting to me at least.
Yeah, Sonic Mania, I played a little bit of that when it came out, and it was fun. Just I also realized I don't think I'm that into Sonic games anymore. I was more interested in like the bonus stages because being a kid when it came out, I had no idea really what the qualifiers were for that, and they were so punishing. Like the moment you screwed up one time, it like ejected you from the bonus stage, and like so it was always trying to master those was a fun challenge, but it just getting to it was so frustrating. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
I'm just it's one of those things that I remember it as a nostalgia factor. I'm not really big into Sonic anymore as far as that style game. So, all right, what do you got next on this?
Next, Palia, which is a free to play adventure sim. Looked okay, I guess.
Yeah, it reminded me of like a Rune Quest kind of deal or something like that. It was just because you can do your farming sim, you can do your house building, but you can also be like hunting monsters or like animals or something like that. And they mentioned you can have like multiplayer or you can meet up with other players in world. So it kind of reminded me of like their kind of free to play MMO-ish kind of thing or like, a living adventure world. So I'm like that would kind of be fair or like a fun thing for, you know, a small number of people to do because I don't know how big their lobbies are going to be or anything like that. So I don't think they can do anything too extensive. I don't know. I just don't believe in Nintendo when it comes to that. So I believe they can do like a small network of people, but from what I've seen from like other games like Animal Crossing and how they do that stuff, I'm like, ugh. So maybe like 4 or 5 people, 10 at most, maybe. I'm like, but that wouldn't be bad. Just being able to play with a small group of people and having like a shared town or something like that. I think that'd be okay.
It sounds fun. Yeah, it sounds like it'd be all right. Next up, a little bit more interesting to me, Persona 5 Tactica, Persona 5 Tactics game. Seemed okay. It seemed the art style seemed like a little chibi, a little bit more. I don't know, a little bit less serious compared to the main game. But it's a tactics game, so I don't know. That kind of piqued my interest slightly, but I'll probably be passing it up too. Did you see this at all?
Yeah, they actually mentioned this game originally at either I can't remember if it was the Xbox event or if it was just the Games Fest original reel, and so that's when they first mentioned it. And yeah, you're right. The chibi characters they remind me of the Persona Q series that came out for 3DS, I think it was. And I never got a chance to play those because I didn't own a 3DS. So I just kind of skipped those entirely. But those were just more your dungeon crawlers, if I remember correctly. But this one's a straight up tactics game, and that's a neat twist. I just am not the biggest fan of Persona 5, and they're
Yeah.
really taking these characters as far as they can go.
Yeah.
Which, hey, good on them. They have a good franchise. But they're kind of feeling like they're Final Fantasy sevening this thing, where it's like we're just going to make a bunch of in-game universe stuff, and uh, that's fine. It's just kind of not for me because I'm
You're
not the biggest fan of those characters.
you're right.
So
There is something to be said about like protecting the the IP and like making it seem kind of rare and valuable. Like I mean Nintendo does this with like Zelda and stuff. They don't really do a whole lot of offshoots and this and that. They do some, but not a whole lot and they're they're pretty careful with that even still. Um Mario as well, Metroid, stuff like that. They try to be really careful with that stuff and it is getting a little willy nilly on the Persona 5 characters landing in every other thing. But anyway, yeah. So next up, Mythforce, which is a kind of a Saturday morning cartoon style adventure RPG. I think action adventure RPG. I think there's some swinging of swords and stuff like that in there. Kind of looked interesting, interesting aesthetic. Um, it's probably not going to do too much, I think, in the way of new, game mechanics, stuff like that. But the idea, but even if it just does that stuff kind of normally, the aesthetic alone makes it a little bit more interesting.
yeah, it has the art style that like reminiscent of the old like D&D cartoon or something like that, or the old He-Man or something like that. That they so it's well done. It also though because they straight up are trying to do throwback to the Saturday morning cartoons. It reminds me of the little indie game that came out quite a while ago now. It was Saturday Morning RPG,
Mm,
and like that had a lot of nostalgic throwbacks and stuff like that. It was super cheap, and it was fun for what it was. But yeah, it's just this will scratch an itch for people. I'm probably not going to touch it, but then again, I'm not the biggest. I don't have the biggest time for RPGs or like anything like that. So
yeah, this one it doesn't really look like it's gonna command my attention, at least. But it was interesting to look at. Next up, there was an announcement for Splatoon 3 Splatfest. I think it was mint ice cream, strawberry ice cream, and vanilla ice cream. So there's that.
I
If you,
know no chocolate. I actually just the moment they're like, this is gonna be like a sweet, I'm like, yeah, I just skipped it. I'm like, all right, I don't play Splatoon, so I'm like, yeah, I don't care.
that
Uh,
is completely fair. So if you're just Splatoon, then you can do that. Next up, there's a new Detective Pikachu game, Detective Pikachu Returns. So yeah, that should be uh, if you're into that. I mean, people really like that game, right?
the game and the movie, both did way better than expected. I still love when the movie came out and someone did they did a Danny DeVito voice splicing for the ad, and that was amazing. And like that's the Detective Pikachu we need.
Yeah, that's what we
Uh,
should have had. Yeah,
so you know, there's fingers crossed that if they ever make a sequel, you can do that one because Ryan Reynolds is now like they've ran that course, but no,
yeah,
I don't think that. Oh, it's just I didn't play the last one. Once again, I stepped away from Nintendo for a long while. The last I owned the Wii and the DS, or like the OG DS Lite and then DS Lite. Yeah. So from that, I went to the Switch.
mm,
So I missed the Wii U, I missed the 3DS iteration and the DSi. So, yeah, I've missed a lot of the middle library there for a while.
yeah, yeah. Um, so next up, we have one of the heavy hitters of the announcement, Super Mario RPG, the remake.
Yeah, this is super exciting for me. Despite me saying I don't have time for RPGs, I will make time for this one because it's a huge nostalgia factor for me. It is one of the uh especially for the Super Nintendo, one of the best action RPG, like the game mechanics were just amazing, and it was kind of changed the playing field a lot. I mean, and since then they had made a lot of the Mario and Luigi like Superstar Saga and a couple of like other games that followed suit with this game mechanics. But having I don't know, the gameplay was just blew you away when you first played the game. And especially when I was in like I think I was in elementary school. And it was just like, yeah, you time your attacks, you can do extra damage, you can do extra combos, chain things. And it was just well above and beyond anything. And it was SquareSoft. SquareSoft made this with Nintendo.
Dang, wow, man. Back in the day. Yeah, I remember when my cousin got this. He was a little older than me, and he played it, and I watched him play a good little bit of it, and I was always just blown away by how cool it looked. It's really great that they're remaking this. Um, it looks good. It looks like a pretty faithful remake. Uh, Everything seems to kind of be recreated in a more 3D kind of environment, and colors look great, but it also looks like it's going to play really well. So I'm kind of wondering if they're going to add anything, if they're going to do anything a little different. I don't really mind either way, but it definitely it this is one that I will probably pick up. We'll see, but it's definitely higher on my list.
Yeah, I'm super stoked for it. It's something that a lot of people have been asking to be remade for a while now because it's a classic, and they don't have to change anything to it, so long as they just up the sound, up the visuals, and you can mostly leave everything else, true to form. And I think it's great. I mean, the game had New Game Plus. It was like I said, leaps and bounds above most other RPGs, and it was still held to such a high standard afterwards.
Well,
Uh,
I mean, you're talking about like peak Nintendo and peak SquareSoft, coming together at the same time. So there's kind of no wonder it was a really great game, especially it has Mario in the name. So Nintendo was probably like, hey, this has got to be freaking good. And SquareSoft was like, well, we're good at making RPGs, so let's get it done.
I mean, how was it? The Penny Arcade. Penny Arcade, Rain Slick, Precipice of Darkness, 1 and 2 were modeled after the style gameplay.
Wow.
So where you can do extra damage if you time your attacks with the correct beat or press, and you can also deflect or do dodges depending on when the enemy attacks, and you time it just right. So that was such a phenomenal gameplay. Uh, so yeah, I totally recommend if you want if you want something similar, that's a little harder to get though. You have to get it on. I don't know if they have it on anything else. I have it on the 360. It's like it was the marketplace, so they might have it still available for any retro buy. But honestly, I haven't seen it in a long time. I know Steam had it for a little bit. Book 3 and 4 completely changed game styles. They went to a like an 16-bit Final Fantasy old school like RPG setup in that one. So they actually went backwards, and so I never got to play those because it just kind of took me by surprise, and I wasn't really that interested in it because the first two games played so phenomenally.
Hmm.
But yeah, Super Mario RPG. This is something that I'm glad they're doing.
All right, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Did a little, and then the next thing, I did a little tease on a new Princess Peach game. Didn't really say too much about it. Showed a little bit of a kind of a not really, I guess, not really a cinematic, but not really gameplay either. So yeah, that's a little thing they mentioned. We'll find out more later.
Yeah, they're making her on a stage, so it kind of is a throwback to Super Mario 3 because that's whole thing's supposed to be a stage play as well. Hence
Mm.
the curtains and stuff. And yeah, they just really kept it bare minimum. And she had a transforming dress, so there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be for like little kids or if it's going to be. We have no. I just have no idea what this is going to be. But Well,
It's a Mario game. It's accessible. It's the accessibilities. If we can't handle it, there's something wrong with us.
there's
So
definitely that. There's definitely that. All right. So next up, they're bringing Batman Arkham Collection to the Switch. So I guess I didn't really wasn't paying attention to this. But is this all three games, or is this
yeah, it's
just?
supposed to be all. It's supposed to be all three games.
Well, there's
Of course,
four, but
everyone.
yeah, yeah.
The core trilogy.
Okay,
The
yeah.
fourth one was not
That middle,
different developer.
yeah, that one doesn't
So
count. Um, yeah, it's kind of just a rehash of the second one anyway. But yeah, I mean, so they're bringing that, they're bringing the three core games. I kind of wonder how well Arkham Knight would really run on a Switch, but I guess they're just downgrading everything enough to run.
yeah, that's the question: is are you taking out like destructible physics? Are you removing extra assets? Because it's the driving scenes were always the tough ones. The most of the stuff traversal was fine, but until you got to the driving, and that's when everything tanked. So we'll see. You know, they didn't mention if it was going to be like, you can kind of think of them trying to be like, oh yeah, we're going to do the cloud stuff. Like they've done that with a few games before, to try to make it work, but nothing was mentioned on that, so can't really say, to be determined, I guess.
Yeah, can't
But
say
you
for sure.
did miss something out of the Nintendo or the Mario releases, because it was three Mario things back to back.
Oh, what I
Uh,
miss?
it was the Luigi's Mansion, the Dark Moon. That they announced that immediately after Princess Peach.
Okay.
So that one is a weird one because yeah, it's the 3DS sequel to Luigi's Mansion. Um, so out of all the ones to do, they're doing the more low key one that no one like. I don't remember people really being like, "Oh, this is a great game," but they're remaking it, so hopefully they'll make some new twists and maybe make it improved, because a lot of the people really did like the last Luigi's Mansion game. So that one seemed to have done really well. So if they just take what they learned from that and maybe revamp Dark Moon, it could really go somewhere. Maybe
Yeah, I
there's at
mean,
least hope.
maybe they're just trying to cross it off their list so they don't miss remaking one before they remake something else or do something else. Um, but or maybe it was cheaper and easier to do, so they're like, well, we can go ahead and remake it and throw it over here and make some people kind of happy without spending way too much money. So it probably did factor in as some kind of business decision in that parameter.
Yeah, possibly. All right, then what's the next one you got?
Next one is Gloomhaven. This is originally a board game that they turned into a video game. The board game, so it's a sort of, I don't want to talk too much out of school, but because I've never actually played this, I've wanted to play this with friends. Um, but basically, the board game, it's a little bit of a D&D style, but way heavier on the board game aspects, with a lot more pieces and certain things you can and can't do, and certain maps and stuff like that. And so it's a huge game. It is a huge, huge, huge game. Takes a very long time to set up. Take a very long time to play. Takes a very long time to take down. So
You don't take it down. You just leave it up. You put it on a table and you just leave it there, because that's what we do. It's just like, yeah, we're gonna put it in a separate room and we're just gonna leave it there, and hopefully we'll get back to it within a month's time. It is the best way to explain that game is, it's an RPG that's a deck-based game. So uh, you have your set deck. You're end up they determine your move set. You have a cost for you not only are playing against the enemy and your health, but you're also have a stamina meter. So you're running out. Things cost in order to play. Depending on how you rest, and you're slowly getting fatigued as you go through the dungeon. So you may not make it through because you got killed, or you may not make it through because you literally have no more energy to do anything. And then it boots you back to the front, and you get to take all the loot and then rerun it again. It is it's very video game like, actually, in a lot of ways, which it's kind of fun, but also it's very frustrating. And uh, I haven't played the digital version, so I mean, I bet that streamlines a lot of things, and it probably helps a lot with the rules because almost everyone I know has played the first handful of missions incorrectly. And then you're like, oh, you realize you played incorrectly halfway through, but you died anyways. And so the next time you're playing, you're trying to play. It is a chore of a game, and it's a lot of fun. But the board game even gives you achievements like an actual video game.
Hmm.
Like the like sticker, it's meant to be. Uh, Certain things are meant to kind of be like a legacy game where you destroy or you modify the game board itself. So you have a sticker sheet you can put on, and as you're accomplishing quests and stuff, you're marking things up. So some people cannot handle that, or if you're trying to play with multiple groups, then you're like, oh, I can't mark it because so you're pulling out a second sheet of paper to do all these critiques and notations because like here's who I'm playing with this group, and I want to show another buddy this. And yeah, that's once again, it is a massive board game. You're right. The thing weighs a ton, and it's a lot of fun. They just recently came out with Frosthaven, that got released after being kickstarted, and so that's like 200 something for that game. It's crazy big. I wanted to kickstart it, but since we don't play the first one enough, to what we're like, we don't need another giant box collecting dust. We are trying to play what we have with the first game. It's an amazing game. It's a lot of fun. So this one um, coming to Switch, I mean, so long as the multiplayer is good, I can't see it being a problem. I'm curious if it's split, if you can do multiple characters on one Switch, as far as like playing with multiplayer, because that would be probably the best way to do it. Share a screen, share a TV, uh, and not make everyone buy a copy. But once again, I don't know much about the actual digital version. I knew it came out on Steam a while ago, and uh, people seem to like it. It's not hated, so that's good.
Yeah. I tried to play it a little while ago and on Epic, and didn't get very far. Something kind of crashed, and I was like, well, I don't. Even, I was kind of just trying to see what this was like. I didn't really want to, and I wasn't really intending to try to play it hardcore. I have a D&D group we play online, and this game has come up several times of trying to play this game online because it's like already got a video game sort of setup, so might be kind of an easy to dip into. But yeah, it's interesting that I was kind of surprised they brought it to Switch. I am curious to see how it would play without a big old beefy PC behind it, But we'll see. I doubt I'll get to try it, but I don't know. Maybe somebody will. Um, got something else to say?
No, the next one seems like right up your alley, though.
Yeah, this one almost made me throw up. Just Dance 2024. Um, yeah, Just Dance 2024.
They come out every year. I mean, they made a Star Wars special one, so I assumed you would be all down for that. They changed all the dance moves and some of the lyrics to fit your Star Wars needs. I forget when that was. That was like 360 era.
Well, I
Uh,
think it's clear which one of
Honestly,
us knows the most about these games.
oh yeah, dude, I've played this one in Japan. That one had Japanese specific songs. There was a superhero one, so you get a Sentai, like Power Rangers level song, and it was pretty great to do while hammered. Yep. It's one of those things that uh I've tried with it's almost better to do with like back with the Wii or with the Switch where you have the controls. If you're trying to do just based off camera, that it's kind of iffy depending on your lighting, so it may not register. Uh, but yeah, they have a Ubisoft does a really good job with their subscription service games like this. I think they're trying to follow the same model with Rocksmith, because what they do is at Just Dance they have a when you first time you sign up with them, you can get a free month of their Just Dance service, which has like their back catalog of all their, or at least a lot of their stuff. They have rotating songs, things like that. And I know Ubisoft's trying to do something with Rocksmith where like you can do a subscription-based service, and they'll be updating things and keeping that live model going, so they can continue to get money opposed to one and done or just paying for DLC.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they somehow, like new songs come out every year, so they keep on licensing new and new stuff all the time.
Keep on making it. Yeah. So next up, uh, Silent Hope, which is an anime action RPG. Looked sort of interesting, but not really enough to beat out a lot of the other stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Next up, another quick one. Fae Farm, farming sim. Yeah. Hot Wheels 2 Unleashed. Hot Wheels game. I heard a while ago about this one Hot Wheels game that was actually pretty good. Surprisingly, I was listening to a podcast, and it was the only one that I ever heard talk about Hot Wheels, but it was on like their Game of the Year list. It like made it like into the top 10 just barely or something like that, or top 20 or something like that. So,
Well, the first Hot Wheels Unleashed is on Game Pass actually right now, and I know that they did I'm pretty sure they did a Hot Wheels DLC for Forza Horizon, one of the like
okay.
couple years back. So, it's uh, it's not necessarily a kart game or like but it's if you need a wacky racing game, then I don't see any harm in that.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're into that, then go get that. Next up, Manic Mechanics. Also kind of tuned out here.
It looked like Overcooked, but for like building vehicles is if or some close same but different.
Same,
So
but different. You heard it here first. Yeah. So that's a game that you could play if you wanted to at some point. Next up, Mario plus Rabids Sparks of Hope DLC. More Mario plus Rabids if you're into that.
yep, never. I haven't beaten the first one. I really liked it. I made it pretty far, just never got around to finishing it. And so because of that, I'm like, oh, I would rather finish the first than go ahead and start with the second game. So for everything I heard, it's a good sequel.
Yeah, I mean, they really, the best decision they ever made was to get released with Mario on the title at the time of the Switch's release. Like, that was probably their most sales that they've ever gotten.
And like our last episode, better with guns.
Better,
So Mario is better with guns.
better with
I mean, they
guns.
gave Ryu a gun in Fortnite, and that turned out okay.
Look, man, these video game characters, they are strong advocates for the Second Amendment. Like, they know what they know what they want. Um, okay, so next up, Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince, a monster wrangling kind of game. Yeah. So seems like a Dragon Quest game. Looks, I don't know how much it's gonna like be like a normal Dragon Quest game with the monster wrangling added on, or if they're gonna kind of wholly commit to that
Oh,
being the main
they're wholly
thing.
committing to it because the whole gimmick is you're cursed and you're not able to fight monsters physically. So you have to use the monsters to do your battling for you.
Okay. Okay. Um, so yeah, that should be interesting, I guess. And then now we're coming to another one of the big announcements for the whole thing. Pikmin 4 finally coming out. Man, I remember when Pikmin 1 came out. That was a good, fun little game. Played a little bit of Pikmin 2, missed Pikmin 3. I'm kind of looking forward to this. I definitely have some nostalgia for Pikmin, and this seemed like more of Pikmin, but with a few interesting things added in. Looks like it'll be a well-made game.
Yeah, I I really don't. I've kind of missed the whole Pikmin series. The best thing to come out of Pikmin in my brain is the old Japanese commercial for the original Pikmin, because in like '01, '02, that's when I was over in Japan as a high school student, and on the trailers for it had a wonderful little soft like song ditty, and all I remember from it is be like, yeah, them singing it like roughly translated like, and they're all eaten, like tabeareru, and like as you're seeing the thing just munch on them, and I'm like, that is hilarious, and I love it. I didn't have a GameCube at the time, so I completely missed it, and but yeah, that little song was such a happy and cheerful thing, and then just them talking about how they're getting eaten was just hilarious to me. So
Well, anyway, I'm looking forward to this. It's got a new mechanic of like you have a basically like it's not a dog, but it's basically like a dog that is a special sort of character unit. His name is Oatchi, and he crashes through things and stuff like that. So see how that goes. But um, I was glad to see this, and I'll be interested to play it. Um,
yeah, I think it's a pun, because like Pochi or Poochie is
oh
like
yeah,
their version of Fido
yeah,
in Japan, so that's kind of like, them playing off that.
yeah. I'm
But
sure
yeah,
there's some dang pun there somewhere. Um, so next up, Metal Gear Master Collection, Volume One. This is going to be Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, and the old Metal Gear games from the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, I believe. I could be a little bit fuzzy on that.
um, yeah, no, it's the I think it's the MSX or something like that. The which is the original two, and then the NES 1 and 2. Because Snake's Revenge isn't technically the sequel, but it is in America. So essentially, it's those original classics. So if you want to play the real ones, like the which were originally released, I think, as Metal Gear 3 Subsistence bundle. That's where you were able to actually play that on the PlayStation 2. They had those access there. Yeah, it's a solid collection. There it looks like they're going with the original Metal Gear Solid, opposed to Twin Snakes, and which that means that it's not as broken, because Twin Snakes look good in a lot of ways, but it was also they gave you that first person view that they gave in the second game, and it kind of broke certain boss fights. So yeah, they announced this. This was announced in other events or other showcases as well. So yeah, this should be fun.
Yeah, it might be a pretty good way to grab the Metal Gear, um, Metal Gear Solid stuff if you want it on the Switch and on the go. Next up, Vampire Survivors is coming to the Switch. Very good game. I wonder how much it'll be. Probably like $5, like it is everywhere else. Is that how much it costs? $6?
I don't know. I almost feel like the whole joke about Switch tax. I always feel like that's digital will probably be the same across the board, but I can see them make, if someone like Limited Run will probably do a physical copy and then charge like $20 for it or something.
Yeah,
Um, but
probably.
yeah, I didn't see a price for it, so unknown.
Great.
But this is a great game. I'm wondering if it's going to come out be released with the DLC right out the gate, or if it's going to be you know or if they're just going to make you get that separate. But a lot of times, because games come so late on the Switch, they give you the complete package, which is a bonus, at least for uh, if you're getting it on the Switch. You're like, all right, I'm paying maybe a little bit more, but at least I get the whole series, and I don't have to pay separately for the DLC. But yeah, the base game right now is $5 on Steam, and so it's under $10 for at least the two DLCs, and then it's like $12 for if you can include the soundtrack. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, Vampire Survivors, good game. Um, play it. All right, next up, Headbangers. I forgot what this was completely.
is the pigeon rhythm game.
Oh yeah, This
It's
is the
like
one
a
where he's like,
it's
it's a
kind of,
pigeon. Yes, a pigeon, right?
you're a pigeon. It's like a pigeon party game with rhythm. So something like a Wario game, which will come up later.
Interesting. Penny's Big Breakaway, another game.
Yeah. You mentioned Sonic Mania before. This is actually the guys who made Sonic Mania. This is actually their next game they made after that. And so this really does harken back to the look of an old platformer. This is a 3D platforming game. Has a very unique style to it, and so anyone who's a fan of those old aesthetics will totally dig it. Not for me necessarily, but it does look like what they do. They do well. So
All right, good deal. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. They're still plugging Mario Kart 8. Cool.
yeah, I think this is the fifth season or whatever I
Oh,
thought it
okay.
was. I honestly can't remember. Uh, I didn't go with it, so I still have the base game, and I stopped playing that forever ago. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, all right. So next up, one I thought was kind of interesting. Star Ocean, the second story R. This is a remake. You were telling me before the podcast, I didn't know this, but you're telling me that this is actually the second time they've remade this second game, right?
Yeah. So Star Ocean Second Story originally came out on the PlayStation, and the PlayStation 1. That was a phenomenal game. It was really innovative. I mean, this was an Enix game,
Mm.
and so before Square Enix, there was SquareSoft and just Enix. This one was really neat because you had uh, this combat system, but also you had like the characters you met. You could choose between a male or female protagonist, and so the two main people that meet up in the beginning, you pretty much automatically start carrying on their mission from that point. Um, so if you're playing as the guy, you have certain party members that you'll meet, and you can actually there was like a light dating mechanics involved as well. But there's full on characters that you just would not meet um, if you played as the female character, and vice versa. So it was just like it really did open up a lot of windows. You didn't have to pair off with like traditionally, if you had the main hero, you'd automatically win with the main heroine. But in this case, you can choose who you want to romance. As far as I think it was only opposite genders, but because of the way that played out and a lot of the story content, one of the things they touted was like over 80 different endings. I only got like two, and I was like, that game was super long. So I'm like, I'm not getting all these endings. And so, looking back, it probably is like small variants. Like, um, you have the main people who you're partying with, and so you can probably have some of their main endings, but I can see them a lot of these other quote unquote endings being like minor tweaks. I can just to qualify as 80 plus endings. But
Yeah.
yeah, they made Second Evolution for the PSP, and that was around the same time they came out with uh, the Star Ocean, the first game, and because the first one was originally a Super Famicom game, and so what they did was went ahead and came out with this as their first departure, is what they called it, and that was the first time I was able to play it, anyways, on the PSP. So PSP had both first departure and second evolution. So they're re-releasing this again, the second game. I really like this game. I have a huge nostalgic spot for it. It was one of the first major RPGs I played on the PlayStation. A lot of time sunk into it. Uh, there's no way in hell I'm playing this game. Uh, I'll
Again,
buy
yeah.
it. I'm gonna buy it, and like if they have a physical copy, I'll probably guarantee buy it, have it on my shelf. But I'm not gonna actually play it because I just do not have that kind of time. But it's an awesome look. The way they're redoing it, I think it's really good looking. Has the kind of that Octopath Traveler aesthetic where you have like a big chunky sprite,
Mm.
and then a more of a CG background. Looks like a lot of it, if not all the voices are spoken this time around, so they have dialogue for all of it, and that's really nice. But yeah, I mean, the gameplay itself was really cool, especially for the time, because it followed the Tales series, like Tales of Fantasia, Tales of Symphonia, as a lot of people would know later on and stuff like that. But it was an active like arena that you get to battle in, so you can actively move around, dodge enemies, and cast spells and combos and stuff like that. So they are tweaking the combat, and they're making things a little more accessible for this game. Yeah, this was, like I said, this was a really fun RPG, and it was really innovative for the time. So
Yeah, would you
really happy about this.
would you recommend? So you'd recommend me playing it on this because
Oh
I
yeah,
never played.
totally. It's really unique. Um, I would say play this new one when it comes out. You don't have to play the old one. I don't find the old one necessarily as sacred.
You
Like,
mean I
oh yeah, you
can
have to do it.
jump into this second story, or
Yeah,
and
you do not have
okay,
to know the first game. Literally how they started off is you are the son of one of the main heroes of the first game. And you're not even like that your dad isn't even the main hero. He's just one of the party members.
okay,
So and essentially you guys are flying in space. You're on like a planet, and you touch a piece of something, and you tell yourself teleported to a foreign planet. And there's a legend in that area of a hero to come from the heaven with a sword of light, and of course the hero has to be blonde hair, blue eyed. Happens to meet your description, and the sword of light, the main female Reyna, if I remember correctly, and like Klaus or Claude, is the main male. But she sees you like she's in danger of a monster, and he has like a plasma weapon or a laser weapon, and he fires it, which makes it it's a bright light. Uh, and so she sees that as like the sword of light in legend. So it's like a blonde dude with a sword of light. He's obviously our hero to save us from whatever disaster, and that's kind of how the story goes. He unfortunately cannot use his energy weapon or his phaser or whatever because it's limited on battery essentially. So he has to learn the way of the sword. Uh, but yeah, it was a good game. Lots of time put into it, but you do not need to know the first story at all. It is meant to be its own isolated thing.
cool, man. I hope I can check that out. Yeah, very interesting. I had no idea you had that much history with the game.
Yeah, like I said, it's a phenomenal game. I really love that original game.
Okay, makes sense why they're remaking it again. Next up, WarioWare Move It. I don't have too much experience with WarioWare games, but apparently they're pretty fun party games. Is that right?
Yeah. Also super interested in this. The only problem is I don't have Joy-Cons to spare. So I like chances are one of my buddies who have Switch, has a Switch, will have multiple Joy-Cons. But they're the right kind of stupid, man. They've always been that way. They are the most silly, uh, the most Japanese thing you can think of as far as like the late 90s, early 2000s, like whenever you thought of like Japan just being silly, that's what these are. Uh, they're very absurd and out of left field mini games. And yeah, they're phenomenal. So for sure, play it if you want to have a good laugh with people. Give it a shot because sometimes you won't even know what's going on, especially when you're first learning these games, and you're just like you are with your friends, and you're like, what am I supposed to be doing? And someone does something and wins, or something happens to you, you're like, wait, what? And then you just, by the time you have a chance to react, they're already moving to the next game, so you're still in shock from the last one, and then you're having to prep for whatever they throw at you the next time around. It's hilarious.
Got to pick up the pieces and hurry it up. Okay, well that's cool. So people will be looking out for that. Next up, they had this little announcement for Nintendo Live in Seattle, being put on by PAX West. Seems like. So yeah, they took time to announce that. Won't be able to make it out there for that, or maybe you will. But yeah. Anyway, so going on, the final thing that they announced here, save the best for last, like usual. Super Mario Brothers Wonder, a 2D or 2.5D Mario game. Looks pretty good. Looks like an old school Super Mario style game, and I'm pretty excited for this. How about you?
So yeah, this is like a better version of the new Super Mario games that they came out with a while ago for the 3DS. So they had a whole line of they had like two or three, I think at least two new Super Mario games that they had come out with, and those were more of a nostalgic throwback to the original games. Like, but this one is actually doing innovation, which is really nice. They're really changing the formula and making you have fun with the medium, and that's really good. Uh, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I probably won't. I don't know, I just don't really have time to play with my Switch that often. But this is like something awesome and unique. So I think they're doing the right thing with this for sure. Uh, but with like I said, as far as compared to the those new Super Mario games that had come out, the quote unquote new title, those ones were okay. They look nice, but this, like I said, is really interesting how they're playing. They changing the flowers to talk. They're doing all sorts of weird things to Mario himself, making him stretch, making him transform. So yeah, this is going to be interesting to see, and I think people are going to have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, it seems like a good stopgap. Now that we got a Metroid game. We had before that we had Odyssey, Mario Odyssey. We have a new Zelda game now. It's probably going to be a little while before we actually get the next Mario game, though I think it's been guessed at or semi-announced as to when that's coming out. But this is a good kind of like an off year for that. We can go ahead and throw that in there, get that, have some fun with it, and move on before the next kind of big ticket Nintendo title comes out. So yeah, it looks interesting. I am definitely excited for it. I don't know how I'm gonna afford money wise or time wise to play all these games, especially with all the other games coming out from all the other systems and stuff. But just have to pick and choose and make it work. But yeah, anyway, that's going to be it for the Nintendo Direct that happened just a little while ago. So next up, we do have a little bit more news, some smaller stuff. Something that I wanted to talk about was Diablo 4 players have been calling for an offline mode in the wake of multiple DDoS attacks. This past Sunday, so I guess back on the June 20, let me guess, June 24th, is that right? There was, and I think that's Saturday as well, there were some DDoS attacks that made playing the game impossible for some people. I was actually about to head out Saturday night, but had a few minutes before I needed to go, so I wanted to try to play some Diablo, and I fired that up, and it wouldn't load, or no, it would load. It would load in, but it was just lagging to like no end. I was like, what is going on? This is completely uncharacteristic. There was no reason for that to happen. And then Sunday, had some trouble with it. I was actually able to play a little bit on Sunday, I think. But then Monday night, I was not able to play at all. After for a 2 hour stretch, I kept checking and wasn't able to play at all. And then kind of hear about all these attacks. I would like an offline mode. I understand why they don't do that. But it's stupid. They need to create an offline mode for these kinds of things because they just like you're just opening yourself up to to a DDoS attack if you don't have an offline mode. It's just like, well, we can really, for lack of a better term, fuck up your shit by just doing a DDoS attack. And it's, from what I understand, it's really not that hard to perform. So anyway.
No, the whole reasoning, or the big reasoning behind it, is they don't want people, like modding or hacking. Like, generally speaking, they don't want people messing with the accounts and, you know, cheating their way to success. It's also kind of like a DRM thing.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't really matter. People should play the game how they want it. You should be allowed to, if you want to play the game broken and max level, you should be allowed to. But I feel that way with most things. But also, some people don't want to spend the time to grind to find the best loot. And yeah, unfortunately, I've not had a chance to play this game. I actually got a copy from the library, and I haven't had. I loaded it up, or I finally got it on. I've just been too busy to actually have it. So hopefully, I can fire that up on the PlayStation soon, and maybe we can get a game in or two. But I know you've been playing it a bit, so you're going to be quite a ways ahead. So unless if you want to start a new character,
they make it pretty easy to start a new character. I mean, I haven't done it yet, but well, so I guess I should say too much. But it seems like it'll be pretty easy because it's like you can pick your main character, or you can say start a new character, and I think it'll just do it. So yeah, whenever you fire it up, maybe we can you can play on one character, and then we can restart again and just have our Nick and Joe time characters.
Just power level me, just carry me through. Just like
like this podcast.
Take my level 1 to your level 30 zone, and just protect me.
I will spend 15 to 20 hours doing that for you. Sure. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I not too much else to say. I think that you're right. I think that people should be allowed to play the game how they want to play the game, and DRM sucks, and an offline mode is obviously something that should be done. But anyway, yeah, there was one other little announcement you had here.
Yeah, just at the time of this recording, we're doing this on Thursday. The Steam Summer Sale has just gone live today. It'll be going through July 13th, I believe. And yeah, so now's a good time to possibly pick up anything and get ready for hunkering down for the summer. Especially if you're somewhere where, like, up north in the North America, and you're suffering from like all the smoke. Maybe you don't want to actually go outside and enjoy the smoky filled air, and you just want to hunker down and ignore the outside world. Stay in the shade,
which is the best policy. Ignoring the outside world. This podcast recommends ignoring the outside world.
Yeah, it's social lives are overrated, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So Steam Summer Sale. I took a look. A couple things, pretty interesting. So I found like this one $2 game. I don't even know what it was, but I was like, I might pick that up, just because it's so dang cheap and it was something I kind of wanted to play. But yeah, take a look at that if you want to. Last thing, I mentioned we started talking about Diablo 4 a little bit already. I have been playing it for several weeks. Not super far into it, I guess. For it having been out for this long, I've been able to play it about 21 hours, and it's pretty fun. It took a little while to get to that point. Honestly, I found the early game to be so incredibly easy that I was really considering taking it back. It was insanely easy. I decided to go with the Necromancer class, and I think that might be the problem. I think that the Necromancer class maybe is a little overpowered at the beginning. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the rest of the classes are that way too. I've talked to some other people who have played a little bit. They didn't seem to have that complaint or that thought that it was super easy. After about 10 hours is when I started to get into some stuff where I had enough stuff going on in what I could do, and the enemies were getting difficult, and there was a bunch of extra side stuff kind of going on, being opened up, that I was like, okay, I think I've entered Diablo 4 proper. It is the kind of the where they want you to be in the game. Um, and so it's gotten more interesting since then. Story so far has been interesting. It started out sort of like okay, ho hum, but it's improved. I do have some criticism of it. A little bit deeper criticism. I think I'll save until later. I want to kind of fully form it and maybe try to get to the end of the game. I think I am like 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through the main story. They say the main story can be beaten in like 18 and a half ish hours. Um, that seems kind of fast to me, but I guess if you're really good at the game, then you can do it that fast. But like there's been a couple times where especially more recently, I've needed to go level because I just get my ass kicked, and it's like, okay, I gotta go level, I gotta go do something else. But yeah, probably gonna finish that up before the next podcast, at least the main storyline, and then maybe play some multiplayer or something like that. But yeah, pretty good game. I think I'll just leave it at that. Pretty good game. Looking forward to you playing a little bit of it, Joe.
Yeah, I remember Necromancer being my class of choice in Diablo 3. So
Hardcore.
it's nice being able to roll around with a little mini posse. Helps, especially when you're playing solo. And so that's probably why the early game might have been a little easier for you. Uh, I mean, hey, anyone who can help take away the aggro for sure. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, hopefully we'll get that in next time next time around. There's one or two other things I have on my plate. But unfortunately, this last week, the one thing is I finally got Game Pass up and running on my PC.
Oh yeah.
It was down for a couple weeks. It was only like by like the fourth or fifth time that I completely erased all the Microsoft stuff on my computer that it would let me, as far as Game Pass, companion apps, the Xbox app, and then having to reload all that stuff. And don't know what happened, but like I said, I tried a bunch of different random things, and like fourth or fifth time, reinstalling everything and then signing in, boom, just worked. I'm like, you know what? I'm not really sure what the hell happened and how it got back working. I'm not gonna care so long as it's back running. I don't, it's like, so yeah, that's it. Um, it's finally working again. Unfortunately, if this happens to anyone else, good luck. Just uninstall everything that says Xbox on it, or Game Pass related, and then try reinstalling all that. Bit by bit, and hopefully it'll fix itself. I don't know. Yeah, it was very, I wasted so much time doing that. If it like literally, it was like, if this doesn't work this time, I'm going to have to do a clean reinstall of Windows. And I really just did not want to do that. That's how annoying this was.
Well,
so yeah, I'm glad I avoided that.
Well, Joe, I'm glad you got it running. Congratulations.
Yeah, right. But no, all right, guys. Thank you for making it this far, and we're really happy that you made it. And thanks, Nick, for being on with me today, as always. All right. Well, all of you out there, I hope you all have those in North America. Hope you have a great, safe 4th of July, weekend. And for everyone else, until next time, take it easy, guys.
Bye.